Welcome to the Momming with Jesus podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Hargrove. On this show, I help moms discover Jesus in their motherhood. I hope this show encourages you in your mom journey. Enjoy the message. Well, welcome to the Momming with Jesus podcast. I am actually super excited to have a very special guest on today. Her name is Cheyann Maria. And she's just awesome. I met her several years ago at an event of a mutual friend. And it was all about fitness and even just women empowerment. And she was just so motivating. And so I followed her for the past couple years, and I have been so encouraged by her heart, her passion, what she does for other women, and so much more. And we've over the past couple of years kept chatted here and there, kind of built a friendship, and I really I love her. And so she is actually a wellness, mindset, and accountability coach. She has a passion to help women be confident in their own skin. And I've actually seen countless of her testimonials that I watch. And I'm like, oh my gosh, these women's lives have been changed because of, one, her expertise, her knowledge, but not only that, her passion. And so I truly believe that God has led us to her and even have her a part of this podcast today, because I know that there's so many women out there that need her encouragement, her passion, her words, and everything that she's going to share with us today to just really find confidence in their body image and so much more, because she has more than that. She has so much more to bring to the table from her heart and her life. But Cheyann, welcome. And I'm so glad that you're with us today.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. And so, Cheyann, before we just kind of get into, more specific things, do you want to tell us just a little bit about yourself? Just where are you from? What are some basics about you that you would like for us to know?
Cheyann, fun facts. Let's see. I grew up in a small town called Castroville. It's like 45 minutes west of San Antonio, I guess now with all the traffic and development that's happened.
Yeah.
I grew up out there, very, very grateful for the small town life, but I quickly wanted to get out. I wanted more. I knew there was more than just the two stoplights that we had in the town. Mm-hmm. And so I moved to San Antonio when I was 18, started going to college out here. And although they're super close, it was a very different world. Castroville is not as diverse as San Antonio. So I had one way of life, and that was it. That was the ends to the means out there. And here you meet just a different walks of life everywhere you turn. And I love it. I love people. People have always been my passion since I was young. I was voted most popular in high school just because I did not care what you drove, what you wore, who you hung out with, what table you sat at lunch. I talked to everybody. Yes. And I have people that still message me and they were like, you're still the same person from high school. Like, just super, super easygoing. And I think it's because I didn't have the best home life. I didn't have a terrible life by any means. I don't want to make my parents sound awful, but I knew that I couldn't be the only person facing a hard life at home. And I didn't want to make it more difficult for those at school. So I just always smiled and said hello to everybody and really tried to be as inclusive as possible. High school's tough. Why make it tougher?
Yeah, exactly.
I was in college. I was going to college for law. And then I started working in the real estate management world and quit college and then started making money and then went back to college in 2020 when the world was just shifting. Mm-hmm. And my passion, again, has always been people, whether it's making them feel good, criminal justice side of everything. I was mentoring youth felons for a little while in 2020 when I had a little bit more time, working from home. Mm-hmm. And then my dad passed away and everything changed. And we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that so far, Cheyann. And first of all, of course, I am very sorry to hear that about your father at the very end. And I'm sure we'll be able to talk about that, but my condolences. And that's cool to know you grew up in Castroville. Where we live is we're all the way on the other side of town for most people. So we're right at the edge of Castroville. So it's like 15 minutes from us. Cute little town, but I can imagine the small town life brings a lot of pros and cons. So you made it to San Antonio, sounds and looks like you're flourishing. So that's so cool. And you know what, when you said you're voted most popular, I could totally see that because of not just because you're cool, but honestly, like what you said, I can get that vibe off of you, is that you make people feel good about themselves no matter who they are, and you have a genuine heart for people, and that is something that's very obvious. And so I love that about you, and just what a beautiful heart God has given you, even through the midst of like the circumstances you're kind of expressing you went through, growing up. And so God used that, or allowed that, to be something that produced beautiful character in you. So I love that, Cheyann. Thank you for sharing that. I have another thought or question. And I know, on this group, like so many of us are at different journeys when it comes to our faith. We have found God in our own ways, in different ways and circumstances. For you, how has faith played a role in your life personally?
Huge. If I'm gonna cry. I cry probably once a week, just like in heavy gratitude. I
Yeah.
would not, I'm gonna cry.
And that's okay. That's
I
welcome
would
here.
not be where I am without my faith.
Yeah.
And just trusting that, I mean, obviously hard work, but
Right.
having that faith in the Lord and knowing like I will never be without because of him. Growing
Mm-hmm.
up, we didn't go to church as a family. I would go to Sunday school with my aunts every once in a while, but my parents
Yeah.
had differing religions. My dad
Mm.
was a devout Catholic. My mom, I want to say, I know my grandma was Scientology based, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure what my mom was. So I actually, fun fact, and I don't think my mother-in-law is going to listen to this, but
Yeah.
I actually decided, I woke up 2 weeks ago and I sat up out of the bed and I told Nate, I'm ready to be baptized. Like I'm ready.
Wow.
Yeah. So she doesn't know. It's going to be a
Yeah.
surprise for her. I don't know if I won't share this until after. I think it might happen this weekend, but
Wow.
um, just my faith in God has gotten me here. Obviously hard work, staying disciplined with myself and
Yeah.
everything in between. But I everyone, I don't know how to put it.
Yeah.
You don't believe in something, whatever that is. I mean, you've got to have hope somewhere. If not,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like for you, mine happens to be Jesus, and
Yes.
I'm proud of it. I'm not going to shadow that with any fear or of judgment, especially nowadays. And I, that's my foundation, and that's
For
why I
sure.
am who I am. And I speak it out proud.
Yeah, that is such a beautiful story already, Cheyann. And, I myself didn't grow up in the church, or I went to Catholic church a couple times, maybe a handful of times that I remember. And, it wasn't until for me, 2008 is when I truly found Christ. And it's just so cool that, regardless of our upbringing, God has his way of drawing us to him.
Mhm.
And that's evident in your life. Like you are so confident and passionate about how Jesus is the foundation of your life. And that is so
Yeah.
beautiful. And like, I am thrilled to know that you are soon choosing the decision to get baptized. Like that, it literally gets me slightly emotional and excited, because I remember when I got baptized, and it's just such a powerful, simple, yet powerful moment in your
Yeah.
faith. Like it is just, and your heart is just being unctioned to do that. And I'm just so proud of you for saying, okay, I'm going to follow that.
I
Like
was
I'm
literally,
ready.
I got sick. I had COVID a few weeks back and I was sitting in the room quarantined by myself. And I come out and I told Nate, I said, I'm ready to be baptized. And he's like, okay. He's like, let's do
Something's
it.
happening in there.
Yeah.
Okay, this is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I am super excited to hear that, and just proud of you for, just like you said, being bold in your faith. And when was it for you, would you say that, like, I know you mentioned like y'all didn't really grow up in church and stuff like that. When was like the moment for you where you started like pursuing your faith on your own, like personally?
Sixth grade. In Castroville, we fortunately had something called FCA, it was Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And
Yes.
every Friday we had meetings, and
Mm-hmm.
I would just go with my friends and I would sit in. And, I'm still not someone that you could ask to read scripture randomly. I'm not there
Right.
yet. I'm
Mm-hmm.
working on that, but
Right.
I would go and I felt the presence of the Lord, the togetherness and the unity that,
Yes.
sitting together and congregating and speaking about your faith can do, and hearing testimonies, even just
Mm-hmm.
in middle school and high school, hard times happen to people, and
Yes.
just hearing and realizing that if you have something to believe in, you can really pull through. And it was beautiful to hear one in specific. Avery Ruiz was her name at the time. She's married now. I think her name's Stanford. And that like really stands out. I don't even know if she remembers giving her testimony, but it was something that
Right.
moved me. And moments like that just really pulled me in. And then as I got older, moved out to San Antonio by myself. Pearl Street. I walked into Pearl
Yeah.
Street in a time
Mm-hmm.
that I had a gap where I kind of like, I wouldn't say lost faith. I've always been faithful, but not as
Right.
disciplined in my church going as I should be. And
Mm-hmm.
it was New Year's Eve, I believe. And I walked into Pearl Street Church. And when I say I heard Oceans by United Hillsong and
Yes.
just bawled, just
Yes.
started bawling. And from there on, it was like, pure bliss walking into that church. I haven't been there and since really COVID. I've been a few
Yeah.
times.
Mm-hmm.
But we go to Nate's family's church, and that's
Right.
been great. And even that, we haven't been as good as we need to be, but
Right.
it doesn't change like where my heart is and who
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
owe everything to at the end of the day.
Right, right, for sure. Well, that's it. That just like blows my mind because it's like sometimes we don't realize, like as simple as that organization that's well known, FCA, like, will those people that lead it ever realize the actual impact it had on these kids' lives? Like they
Yeah,
might see some of them think, oh, this is just hitting the wall, but it has changed your life. It was like the beginning seeds that have formed your faith over the years. And so, I
absolutely.
mean, that's just so cool. And
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that personal moment. I think that's beautiful. Cheyann, what is something hard? Okay, look, we've all been through hard things. All of us, no matter how great of lives we've had, right? Um, I think I can think of many myself, but what is something hard that you've gone through that you've had to overcome, and how did you get through it?
The hardest thing in my life was losing my dad by far. Up until that point, I never understood depression. When people
Yeah.
said that they were depressed, I'm like, go, I don't know, go outside, go for a walk, do something, like pull
Mm-hmm.
yourself out of it. I actually in January, my dad passed away November 7th of 2020. And then December, I can't remember when I got COVID, but it was when you had to like lock down for a full 2 weeks. And it was
Yes.
cold and muggy and awful and depressing outside. So I really fell into this hard, dark space because I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't live a normal life after that because of
Mm-hmm.
COVID on top of losing my dad. And in January, I went to my doctor and I actually sat down and told her everything. She started crying and I'm like sitting there,
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
I was like, I think I'm depressed. I don't know. As she starts crying, she's like, no, she's like, you're absolutely dealing with depression. And she had asked me if I wanted any type of medication. And I looked at her and I said, let me try to pull myself out of this. I said, I think
Yeah,
it's very circumstantial. I think it was a lot of things at one time that have
for
piled
sure.
on. And I would
Mm-hmm.
really like to mentally try and pull myself out of this. And it wasn't until I saw how I was affecting Nate with my depression.
Yeah.
Had I been single, I don't know how long I would have been depressed, to be honest. I looked outside, he was standing on the patio one day, and my boyfriend is the happiest person. When I say, if there's if there's not a smile on his face, something is really wrong. He
Yeah.
smiles through everything. And he was outside and just looked so defeated in a sense,
Yeah.
just blah, like he didn't know how to help me. And I looked through the window and I told myself in my head, I said, you either decide to pull yourself out of this or you leave this man so he can be happy.
Wow.
And the next day I just started waking up, brushing my teeth again, making my bed, cleaning, doing the laundry, things that, make me feel good.
Yeah.
Organized life is my go-to. So I wasn't doing
Right.
any of those things. And I just started little by little getting back to life and doing things that made me feel good. I didn't, I started going to the gym again when I could
Yeah.
after COVID had passed. And it didn't happen overnight by any means,
Yeah.
but at some point I didn't feel sad anymore. And
Right.
with grief, it's funny because I'm coming up on 3 years
Yeah.
and it doesn't hurt any less. I want to say like 2 weeks ago, I
Mm-hmm.
had a moment where I just missed my dad and I just started
Yes.
crying but it doesn't happen as often anymore. And
Right.
that's what I tell everyone. That's like what I preach to anybody that loses a parent or somebody that's close to them. It'll never hurt less. It just hurts less
Yeah.
often. So like when it first
Yes.
happens, it's a constant storm you feel like you're never going to get out of. And now it's like a thunderstorm maybe every few weeks. We're okay.
Right.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
going to make it.
Yeah. Well, Cheyann, that was a very sensitive thing when I asked you that question that you had to share and very personal. And once again, I'm so sorry. I can't imagine.
It's
And
rough.
I that's your daddy, you're his little girl, and I can only imagine the deep pain that you might feel. But thank you for sharing ways that you were able to overcome. And I like how you share, because grief is just it's a thing. It is
Yeah.
very it's just very hard. And so to tell someone not to grieve is not the answer, but I like what you shared. Like, it's not going to ever hurt less, but it'll just hurt less often. And it's something that you just have to walk through. But then you shared that at the end of the day, you had to choose to take practical steps to, like, okay, like, let me start by brushing my teeth. Let me start by getting out of the bed. And that's hard to hear when you're grieving. I would never say, hey, just go do this, this, and this. But you were just sharing how you were able to little by little overcome
And
something
I'm
so
not going
dark.
to lie. I
Mm-hmm.
got really mad at
Yeah.
God.
Right.
I got really mad for a second. I said, why him? Why right now? I haven't had babies. I haven't gotten married. Like, why right
Yes.
now? And, anger turns into just, I don't even know, it turns into everything. It just fizzes away at some point, and you
Yes.
just realize everything, and I truly mean everything, happens for a reason. Had my dad not passed away, I would
Mm-hmm.
not be sitting here with you right now. I can
Right.
tell you that for a fact. I'd still be working my 9 to 5. I wouldn't have realized how short life was. I wouldn't
Yeah.
have taken a leap of faith. There's just a lot of things. In the moment, would I give everything up to give my dad a hug? Maybe, but I truly
Yeah.
believe that everything happens for a reason. And me getting through that hard time has allowed me to help others that have since then faced, the loss of a parent that they were really close to. So as awful as it was to go through, I firmly believe God has a reason for everything. And I just had to let go and trust whatever that may be. And now I see it 3 years later. But in the beginning,
Yeah.
oh, I was mad. I was so upset. Ugh.
Right. And you know what? Thank you for expressing that, because people need to know that that is actually a normal part of grieving, is even having anger towards God. And that is okay. We're almost afraid to feel angry, and then to feel angry towards God. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
almost like paralyzes you, especially if you're a believer in Christ. Like, oh no. And then not only do you have this anger and grief, but you have shame,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, I shouldn't feel this way. And it only puts another wedge between you and God. But the truth is that, one, that's a part of grieving, but two, God can handle our emotions. He understands way more than we do why we feel angry, even towards him, because we just don't yet have quite the full understanding of everything. And he is patient, and he doesn't leave us. He does
No.
not leave us even in our angriest moment, even when we run away. And in Psalms 139, it says that there's nothing that can hide us from his presence, even if we try to hide in darkness and run away from him, that even there he's there. And I
Yeah.
think that's just so powerful to know that he can handle our anger. And though I know that things happen and God's able to make beautiful things out of even the worst situations, I try to encourage people to know that God's heart is never to take away someone we love. He doesn't rejoice in
Yeah.
passing. He's not one who causes that. The enemy is real in his plans, but God, what he does is he's able to take those pains and somehow make something beautiful. Does he cause them on purpose for a greater purpose? No, but he uses them for a greater purpose. And so I believe that even though this loss was something that pained his heart too,
Yeah.
that he said, how can I make this beautiful? And he's
And at the beginning of COVID, I reached out to my friend Mallory Duguid, whose dad, I believe, was a pastor. Me and her had said hello in passing.
yeah.
And I believe God drew me to her because I lived alone at the time. Me and Nate didn't start dating towards the end of 2020. So, like, when it first
Yeah.
hit, I was alone all the time. I was very, very fearful of, I trusted in the Lord, but I was so
Yeah.
concerned with like the worldly fear that I had.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand what was going on. That actually, everything again happens for a reason. I started praying every night. I set an alarm at 9 o'clock. I had an alarm go off. It was like, pray.
Yeah.
It didn't matter where I was, whether I was at the gym, at home. I didn't care. I stopped what I was doing and I gave a moment to the Lord.
That's
And I
awesome.
feel like COVID happened for me to kind of get closer to the Lord in
Yeah.
order to be prepared to lose my father. Because had I not
Mm.
already had that extra relationship
Yeah.
strengthened, I don't know where I'd be had I lost my
Yeah.
dad in the midst of, being further away from the Lord. So again, I
Exactly.
trust everything happens for a reason. When you look back in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things, you're like, oh, that's why that played out the way it did. So,
Right. You had something to cling to when
mhm.
something like the hardest thing you had to endure was around the corner,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Well, thank you for sharing that, Cheyann. Again and again, so sorry for that, but I'm so proud of you for just being resilient through it all and just finding hope still for your future and just seeing how God's made it beautiful. So um now Cheyann, kind of shifting gears a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do right now? What is your passion? What do you do?
I am a wellness coach. I want people to live the healthiest lives possible, happiest lives possible, and everything in between. And in order to do that, I would say you need to start small. I have women approach me, and a lot of my clients, I don't really market myself the way I should. A
Yeah.
lot of it's referral based. Majority of my
Yeah.
business is referral based, which makes me happy because I'm doing something right with the clients that I do have, right?
Right.
And so it's because of my dad that I'm where I'm at. I was working a
Mm-hmm.
9 to 5 before, and he was 55.
Yeah.
55 is young. He
Very.
was a beer drinker, fast food eater. And I firmly believe, had he taken better care of himself in his younger years, that he might
Yeah.
still be with us. And so
Right.
my hope is to give people and women, especially mothers, are happen to be my secret sauce,
Yeah.
um, more time. I may not be around to see it, but more time
Right.
overall. We are constantly decaying. So why not
Yes.
preserve ourselves the best we can while we can?
Yeah. No, that's so true, Cheyann. And that's what I've been seeing from what you do is just really giving like this hope and confidence to women and your heart behind it is like, I want you to just live a healthier, longer
Mm-hmm.
and happier life. And so my next question was going to be like, what has given you the passion behind this? You can elaborate if you like, but I know it's almost like, what you went through with your father almost gave you a
Yeah.
passion and birth behind what led you there. Is that where this journey for you started as well? Or is there more to that?
I've always been health conscious. I remember being self-conscious about my body as young as first grade,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Um, and I started really making changes. I stopped drinking soda in 2007 because I played
Mhm.
volleyball and I didn't want cellulite in the short shorts. And then
Right.
in high school, I kind of drifted away from health the way I had in prior years because I started working my senior year of high school. So I wasn't as
Yeah.
active as before. And then I saw a picture of myself that I was not happy with. And it did start out, I'm not going to lie, it started out with vanity in mind. I wanted to
Right.
look good and I wanted to
Right.
look good for others. Honestly, it wasn't even for myself. I wanted the guy that I loved to love me back and he would love me if I looked a certain way. And gosh, if I could go hug young Cheyann and tell her it has nothing to do with what's on the outside, sweetheart, and everything
Mm-hmm.
to do with what's in here. But now I am very much a overall wellness mindset when it comes to why I work out, why I eat the way I eat. And
Yeah.
looking good is just the cherry on top. But
Right.
overall, like I want healthy blood panels. I don't care.
Exactly.
I want you to feel good in your own skin, but I
Yeah.
have people that come to me as diabetics, pre-diabetics, fatty liver, high cholesterol, all of these health issues that can be fixed with simple diet changes and a
Yeah.
little bit of movement in your day. So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, no, for sure. And one thing that I admire about you that I've seen so much is like how disciplined and determined you are, and all of us can say every day we want to be disciplined. And it almost sounds like a very intimidating word, or for some of people, it comes natural. For some people, it seems impossible. But for you, I see that that is something you implement every day in your own ways. Have you always been a disciplined person? And what is some advice that you could give to women who are just striving to implement some sort of disciplines in their life as well, whether it's fitness, eating, just business, anything like that? So have you always been this way? What's some advice, that you could give us?
I have to give credit where credit's due. And as mentioned before, I played sports growing up, and I have
Mm-hmm.
two coaches in specific, Coach DeLeon and Coach Griggs.
Mm-hmm.
They were on me. And Coach DeLeon, I have a little story if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
And I was a freshman in high school and I got to volleyball practice early because I wanted to eat my Cheerios before we had practice. So I
Right.
got there early, I did my warm-ups, and then I sat down because I was done with my warm-ups. I sat down to eat my Cheerios. And as everyone else started coming in, they started to sit with me. And I'm sitting there just eating my Cheerios, knowing I'm ready because I warmed up.
Yeah.
He yells, Cheyann, you know, young Cheyann, teenage Cheyann. I walked over there
Yeah.
reluctantly. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. She's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm eating my Cheerios. I already warmed up. And she's like, you know that they follow what you do. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, that's not my fault, you know?
Yeah.
But as
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten older, I realized she saw in me what I didn't see in myself. And I say this
Mm-hmm.
with all of the humility, a natural
Right.
leader.
Right.
People often ask me for advice. They trust what I say. And I do take that to my heart because I don't promote things that I don't use myself or I don't believe in
Yeah.
myself. I've had companies reach out to me and I'm not necessarily aligned with their, you know, the way they do things. So I'm not going to just do it for money or free product or anything. I want to
Exactly.
really preserve my brand because I
Mm-hmm.
am my own brand. I am a walking billboard. And so she saw what I didn't see. And Coach Griggs was just one of those coaches that did what she asked us to do. She
Yeah.
was, I mean, I want to say, I don't want to age her, but she might have been mid to late 30s and she was running miles with us. She was doing everything that we were
Wow.
doing. And I had so much respect for that.
For
And she was
sure.
very disciplined. She was just somebody that I looked up to. And so those two people definitely planted the seed as to why I am the way I am.
Yeah.
And I used to have, if anybody knows who David Goggins is, before my dad passed away, I had a very David Goggins mentality. And it's
Mhm.
just one of those mindsets that there's nothing I can't do.
Yeah.
There's not a single thing that you can ask me that I can't do if I set my mind to something. And it's one of the, it's kind of really, really, it's over here, way across over here. And then as my
Yeah.
dad passed away, I understand while coaching people, I need to approach it a little bit more. Mel Robbins, if you don't know who these people
Uh-huh.
are, 10 recommend looking into both of them. But Mel Robbins is a little bit more empathetic, soft-spoken, nurturing.
Right.
And I used to be over here. I'm somewhere in the middle now. There's days I'm more David Goggins, but discipline
Yeah.
is just one of those things. Motivation is never really there for me. I like working out, but who wants to exert energy like that?
Yeah.
It's easy to kick
Exactly.
your feet up on the couch and just relax, but the discipline and the benefits that come out of that hard are
Yes.
far outweigh the hard of being tired all the time, uncomfortable in my own
Yeah.
skin. And so I know what I need to do in order to get to where I want to be. And there's nobody that's going to do it for me. I can't blame
Right.
anybody. So I
Mm-hmm.
just do it. It's hard, as Nike would say, just do it. Um,
Right.
and I would strongly suggest not starting something super like crusading. It's going to ask you to do 20 different things in one day. Start
Yeah.
small. If you don't
Exactly.
drink enough water, start drinking more water. If you don't
Right.
eat enough vegetables, start eating more vegetables. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
move, walk 20 minutes a day. Start small. You don't
Exactly.
have to do something that's outrageous right away because that can easily burn you out and you can feel defeated. So start small and just
Right.
add on from there because you can see that you
Yeah.
can do that. So, okay, I can do this. I can add this brick. I can add this brick and
For
just do
sure.
that.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's so cool to know that like you had once again just people in your life that truly inspired you so much that it's affected your future,
Yeah.
and just like you said, like not only them, but you have noticed that, wow, I am a walking billboard. Like what I do will lead others to a positive way or not a like so
Mm-hmm.
positive way. And that's for all of us. Like our life choices will definitely influence other people. And I love how you've used that like ability and even gifting because God gives us those giftings, even of leadership. The Bible says all of us are leaders. We are all
Mm-hmm.
influencing, but then God does give, like there are specific people who are just have the gift to lead. And that's just the
Mm-hmm.
facts. And there's different kinds of gifts, and I clearly see that in you and to see that, wow, like you are also leading people to see how important discipline is, but not only that, how achievable it actually is,
Yeah.
as easy as starting with something small. And for me myself too, in this season, I feel like God has really helped me to begin to become more disciplined. And
I
I've
love
noticed for me, the more that I have on my plate, the more it's required.
Mm-hmm.
Not only am I a mom, but we pastor a church, we have a podcast, I homeschool now, and I'm just sharing what I do, right? You have your own set of multiple things that you're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, if I'm going to be on top of what I'm doing, I have to have some sort of discipline. If not, I'm going to be carrying all this very sloppily. Is that the right
Mm-hmm.
way? It's going to be sloppy. I'm going to feel like, and so, um, it's not easy because, also everyone's personality is different. And I don't think that personality should determine our discipline, but it might feel a little bit more natural for type A's than my personality is not type A. So I've had to really work harder to get there. But I've even been noticing recently, like, I'm like, okay, this is the goal that I want, and I want to feel the results. And one thing I realize is that, and kind of like what you're sharing with these disciplines, so my result is to feel more energy, to the result I want to feel more energy, to be more comfortable in my body, etc., to be happy for my kids and like joyful and peaceful and well rested, which I'm still working on the rest part, right? But and stuff like that. And there's been days even recently, like, I do not want to work out. And not that it's just working out's the main goal here, but I've noticed I've been making sure that I push myself. And when I do, I'm like, I feel so much more energy after this. Like, and
Exactly.
it's true. And it's like almost like annoying. Like, ugh. But I'm so glad that I've been pushing myself because, like, I was so tired yesterday, for example. And I'm like, this would be a day of all days that I just want to lay down. I was like, oh, but you said you're going to work out. So you're going to work out. And I did.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel great. And you know what? My mood is better because I was irritated yesterday. Girl time, it was really hitting me and I was very overstimulated. And afterwards, I was like, oh, okay, there I am. And so, anyways, that's a little side tangent, but I've been learning it and I've been very inspired by you and what you do. And I think all of us listening can know that whether there's an insane amount of discipline in your life or not, that doesn't determine your worth or value, but that we can all start somewhere and the results are so worth it. And sometimes for the results we want, we have to do the opposite of what we feel,
Exactly.
and it's worth it. And so I love that. So thank you. Cheyann, going off of that, what are 3 daily disciplines that you implement, like something that you have to do, and why?
I try to do something to physically improve myself, mentally improve myself, and then spiritually improve myself. Um, Mentally can be anywhere from listening to an informative podcast, reading a book. Physically, obviously, working out is my go-to. But there's days I don't want to work out. And so I will opt for an outdoor walk if the weather permits, especially when it's so nice and sunny out. That vitamin D is going to change your mood. I promise. I have clients that go through these slumps to where they just don't feel like working out. And I'm like, go for a walk. I've had clients just walk and change their diet and see tremendous results. And people just underrate this. I know it's so simple, but it's not easy, right? So get out, just move, put your shoes on. The first step is putting your shoes on. Once your shoes are on, guess what? One foot in front of the other, and then you're there. And then spiritually, I really do try to be a good person. I don't talk about these things to boast in myself, but I will often help strangers. Like there's a guy I met at Kava a few weeks ago. He and I had a conversation in line. I paid for his meal. I'll see a homeless person and I'll be called to go get them a meal and feed them. And I don't post that on social media. That's not for the world. That's for me. That's for me to be a good neighbor. I'm trying to help somebody that's never going to give me anything in return. And doing that often is so rewarding. And then not sharing it, because I see so many social media videos of people handing homeless people foods and then holding a phone in their face. And I'm just like,
that's crazy,
not,
right?
it drives me nuts and Nate sees me cry often. I'm like, can we go get them food? Or I'll call my best friend Lexi's like, Cheyann, you need to stop getting out of the car like that. And I'm like, I promise nobody's going to do anything to me. I feel like when I have Chick-fil-A in my hand, but doing things like that and not telling anybody. I don't know if you saw my story it was probably a couple months ago, but I was walking out of HEB and I buy myself flowers once a week and I call in my pocket of happy. And this lady was walking by and she's like, are those for me? I said, well, if you want them. Aww. And she just started crying. And she's like, she just started going into everything about her life, her mom, her everything. And $5 flowers made this woman's day. And you don't know where she's at mentally. You stopped and gave her a moment of kindness that you would probably want for yourself if ever in need. And I tell Nate all the time, I'm like, you never know when it's a test. You never know. And I'm not doing it to be get approval of anything, but those moments like that really test who you are deep in like
Oh
your
yeah.
ethical bones and your foundation. So I
Mm-hmm.
take those moments and I carry them with me. I don't know if those people ever remember me, but I remember every single one of them that I come into contact with. And I
Right.
often think, I'm like, I wonder if they think about me the way I think about them.
Yeah. No, I'm sure they do. And it's like the impact that we don't realize we have something so simple could literally have changed not only their day, but their life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I love like that part, you know, you shared a couple disciplines, like the mental, the physical, but spiritual. And I love the spiritual part that you share too, because it's like getting outside of yourself, whether you're having a good day or not, you know,
Mm-hmm.
getting outside of yourself and practicing the verse that says, like, not only love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, but love your neighbor as yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy. Oh, I love God. But there's the other side of the coin to that that's just as equal as the other. And God wants us to
Mm-hmm.
love our neighbor in whatever shape or form that is, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so easy to miss those opportunities. You're in a rush, you got your flowers, you're going to go home, but to stop and actually care about people is something that should be simple, but it's not. And so I think that even in our lives as women, even as mothers, like find ways on the daily to get outside yourself, to say,
Mm-hmm.
how can I love my neighbor, whether that's your husband that day, whether that's your neighbor literally,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's your kids, you know, whatever that looks like there's a way to get outside yourself, and it ends up blessing you. Like it ends
Every
up
time.
blessing you.
Every
And
time.
Joyce Meyer, I used to listen to her all the time. I love her. And she's a famous minister or popular minister. And she would, there's something she said that always stuck with me. And of course, I don't remember exactly how she worded it, but pretty much what you're saying, like on the days, especially when you're not having a good day, like when you get outside yourself, it's going to reward your heart. Like
Mm-hmm.
you need that to sometimes get out of the slumps. And I also liked what you said, like, you don't go posting it and all this kind of stuff. And the Bible actually says that when you do good deeds, don't shout it out like the hypocrites
Mm-hmm.
do, that your Father in heaven sees you and he will reward you. And the Bible says, even if you give a cup of water to the least of these, that your Father sees and that he rewards you. And so he doesn't need us like going out there saying, look at what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And, but he all by himself rewards you. He literally rewards you, even if you give someone some water, you know. So how beautiful does that, and how much is that minister to God's heart when he sees us
Mm-hmm.
doing it out of genuine hearts and not for likes. And hey, do your thing. When I see those videos, I'm just like, oh, those people, like I'm
I was gonna say I
encouraged,
love those videos, but I
right?
also there's two sides to that coin, right? So I'm like, oh, I love that you're
Exactly.
maybe sharing it and it maybe inspires somebody else to do it, but also imagine being in that person's position and having a
Yeah.
camera on you in the most difficult time of your
It's
life, you
vulnerable.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully they're asking these people's permission, and that might be me thinking too much into it. But I truly believe when you do things for people that can't return anything to you,
Yeah.
that's like the best type of giving. You know, not
Exactly.
don't give to receive, just give to give from your heart. And
Right.
it's to me like that's the I think Nate and Lexi are probably like the only people that know about that. And then that one lady with the flowers, just because I thought it was such a positive moment. And I had told her that
Yes.
day, I said, do you, because actually it was coincidence that the night before was like a terrible thunderstorm. And then that next day when we were in the parking lot, it was beautiful. I said, the way you're living right now, like whatever you're going through was that storm last night. What's to come
Yeah.
is this day. Like just understand after
Yeah.
every storm is typically the most beautiful day. So just be patient
Yeah.
and weather the storm. And she's like,
Yeah.
oh, like you, like I said, I didn't do it for anything, but like you said, I could have potentially changed her life. I don't know where she
Yeah.
was on the spectrum of being tired of what she was going through. And so
Yeah. Exactly.
a smile can honestly change someone's life, a small conversation. And I try to do it often. I know I have like
Right.
a, how do they say it? RBF is the acronym for, yeah, the acronym
Right.
for it. But
Right.
I look not very approachable, but I promise
Mhm.
I am one of the nicest people.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, because you are. And so, hey, we all got our faces. You're a good girl.
I was like, that's just
um,
my face. I promise I can't see very well. So I'm usually like,
yeah. No, I totally feel you, but I just love those stories, and I think that that's just so inspiring. And so shifting gears a little bit again, you know, I know that you help so many women. I see it every day, because of your passion, just help them feel confident. What would you tell the women today listening? A lot of our audience are women, but not only that, a lot of them are mothers. And some of us spring back after kids, which praise the Lord, and some of us don't. And I think
mm-hmm.
the majority, and when I say that, I myself am speaking for myself, like, man, after that third kid, I'm like, dang, like,
This isn't the same.
Yeah, that wrecked me. And I know a lot of women, are just going through, it is so hard to rejoice and praise God for being able to birth a child, which is a miracle, and embracing like my body is healing. I heard that it takes 18 months for your body to fully heal after giving birth. And then I heard an updated statistic that's saying that it takes actually 7 years to not only your body, but mentally, physically, and all those things, hormones, 7 years. I'm like, dang, gosh, and so it's a struggle, like rejoicing with all of the beauty of childbirth and your child, but also like, okay, but like my body, like, and so, and not only after having kids, but hey, before kids, I remember looking back now, I'm like, girl, you had nothing to worry about. And I remember looking back, I'm like, man, to wear that again, wear the, all kinds of stuff. And so it's, as women, we're always I feel like
our own worst critics.
Yes, especially with their body. So what would you tell a woman today that's listening, that's struggling to love herself and her body? I mean, what are some words of encouragement?
I'm going to start with my moms out there. And I tell this to every mother that I have a consultation call with, because I truly mean it from the bottom of my heart. I have not yet crossed that bridge of motherhood. God has not gifted me that. I'm not trying yet, but I hope and pray that I am able to cross that and enter into that journey of life.
Right.
But your body was strong enough to bring in life to this world. That's not an easy thing to do. And some women can't, you know? And as much as your body changes physically, it's a very temporary time, and you can do something about it afterwards. Will your body ever be the same? No, it won't. Your body, in my opinion, is going to be better.
Right.
You have brought life into this world. You see how strong you are to do that. And then you're carrying a baby around. Don't tell me you can't do X, Y, and Z after that. I think mothers are superheroes in their own right. I know you can't do everything at once, but it is truly a miracle to have a human built inside of you, and to come out on the other side and watch them grow. I don't like social media in the aspect of photoshopping. I don't like it in the aspect of following influencers and celebrities who have the means to get their bodies done after motherhood. It's not normal to do that. Our bodies were created to create life. We're meant to change and grow along with each journey and phase that we go through. So give yourself grace. Again, your body's never going to be the same. In my opinion, it'll be better. I hope I get hips after I have kids. I'm just crossing my fingers. But just give yourself grace. And you didn't change overnight in the direction you didn't want to, right? So you're not going to change the opposite in overnight. So give yourself grace and take baby steps, and just look at it from the standpoint of like, I want a healthier body for my child. And you said it, you kind of touched on it, like looking at old pictures. I've always struggled with body dysmorphia. I was never by any means obese or anything, but I would look at pictures of myself and just be super unhappy. And now I'm to the point where when I say I have clothes in my closet that I would buy in like 2015, 2016 that still had tags on them, and I wouldn't wear them because they didn't look right, I don't care anymore. I wore a tight bodysuit the other night, and I don't care. I don't care if I sit and I have a little stomach. I'm a woman. I have a uterus. It's okay. I don't care. Like, I have cellulite on my legs. Like, I hope that I have cellulite. I'm a woman. I'm supposed to carry weight in my lower half of my body. There's certain things that as I've gotten older, I understand a woman's body. Everybody's different. Everybody's body is beautiful in their own right. And I've always struggled with not being thick enough. I've always been skinny, so I have to eat. And so we all want what we don't have. I just talked to a girl at the gym about this, even if it's as much as like curly hair versus straight hair. Appreciate what you have while you have it, because that can be taken away tomorrow. You could get in a car accident, a wreck, your legs no longer works and you can't walk anymore, but you used to just take that 2 working legs for granted. Never take what you have for granted. And just be grateful every day, an attitude of gratitude about the body you have, honestly. And if there's something you want to change, work to change it. You know, it's not something that's permanent. And for all my moms out there, if you do get to the point of wanting surgery, please try the natural way first. Please, please. It's not, that's another thing I see so many, and I'm not talking against anybody that's gotten that done. I'm all for like feeling your best and looking your best. But surgery is no easy task, and it's very, very dangerous, very high risk, especially with babies that need you. That that woman I think off of Wild and Out who wanted a mommy makeover and is no longer doesn't get to be around to be a mommy anymore because she
Yeah.
wanted, the physical happiness. And I get that, I truly do, but this is a fad. These bodies are a
Yes.
fad, just like
Mm-hmm.
everything else. So just
Yes.
appreciate what you have. And honestly, if you were a potato sack and you were confident, guess what? You're going to turn heads.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what
Yes.
you, confidence is not to me a physical thing. It
Mm-hmm.
truly comes from within. And when you walk in a room, no matter what you're wearing, a t-shirt and jeans or the most beautiful gown at the ball, if you're confident, it's going to be seen.
Yes.
And so to my non-moms, again, social media has a big thing in how we see ourselves. And if you
Yeah.
don't follow, his name is Goob_2, I believe. He
Mm-hmm.
calls out a lot of influencers that Photoshop that you would not guess Photoshop. And it's
Wow.
slight things, as much as like pulling your stomach in, widening your hips. I mean, it's so sad. And I can firmly say I've
Yeah.
never Photoshopped anything.
Right.
I know my angles, but
Yeah.
I've never Photoshopped to change the way my body looks online. I'm not going to do that
Right.
because guess what? At some point, you're going to see me in real life. And I don't want to be
Yeah.
that girl that doesn't look the same online as she does in person. That's to me more
Exactly.
embarrassing than posting a little bit of a stomach on Instagram. It's normal.
Right. Yeah.
And abs are not, I mean, a woman, by the way, is not supposed to be below a certain body fat percentage unless you're genetically gifted over there. We're
Yeah.
supposed to carry a little bit of extra meat on our bones. Embrace
Yeah.
it. Embrace being a
Yeah.
woman. It's a beautiful thing. It is really
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful and powerful thing. So
Right.
just be grateful for what you have while you have it, because there's going to
Yeah.
come a day where you're going to be 60 years old and look back at photos of you now and you're going to be like, oh, I wish I looked like that. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly. Yeah, no, thank you. There was so much encouragement in that, so much. And I think everyone who hears that is going to feel so much better. And I like many things that you said. And one thing is to like understanding that we have a body, we're a woman, and that I feel like our culture has painted the picture of certain things not being attractive.
mm-hmm.
And when those certain things are just natural, whether it's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of cellulite, when you sit down, your tummy is maybe, even if you have the flattest stomach, going to have like a little roll, maybe because your pants
Mm-hmm.
are right there, and not hating yourself, but saying, I'm a woman and I'm going to be confident and I'm going to love these parts of myself instead of hating it. And I think you're so right too, that sometimes, well, not sometimes, confidence is even more attractive than this perfect idea of a body that
Mm-hmm.
you like body, or even what you're wearing or how you present yourself. Like confidence is attractive. So
Mm-hmm.
be confident in the season, even if you have goals to get even healthier and even quote unquote more fit, but be confident where you're at and strut
Mm-hmm.
yourself, girl. Like I am beautiful. And just like you said, we're going to be older. Hey, we can still be beautiful then, but you're right. Like, I feel like we're always looking back at, oh, how I used to be, but you're beautiful right where you're at. And
Don't
we're a
take
work
the
in
what is
progress.
this? Don't take the moment for granted before it becomes a memory is one of my
Yeah.
favorite things, because there's times I look at photos and I remember hating my body and I was almost sickly skinny and I
Yeah.
thought I was fat, and I look now and I'm like, and now I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum where I feel like I can't get big enough. Who
Right.
would have thought? I'm like, I want bigger legs. And I'm like, I look at photos side by side. I'm like, dang, you've really grown. You've put on some good inches. And,
Right.
we're never really satisfied, which is fine. I'm always about growth, consistent, working on yourself. But I tell everyone, especially because I post before and afters, right?
Right.
Don't compare yourself to anybody else. And you are right where you are meant to be when you're
Right.
there. Your
Exactly.
journey is not going to look like mine. I don't have 3 kids. I'm not homeschooling. So my journey,
Right.
my transformation might happen a little bit quicker than yours is going to get to.
Right.
And that doesn't mean you're not going to get to where you want to be. It's just your journey is
Exactly.
going to look different. And so comparison, the thief of joy.
Oh my gosh. It's the worst, especially
Yeah.
for women, especially. And then especially for motherhood, and comparing everyone and where they're at, and not taking into account like the way you get there is going to be different than others. It
Mm-hmm.
might take a lot longer because it's a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
And, everyone has their own hard, but not comparing, like that is just the wrong way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're beautiful and we're all working on it. And I
We're
mean,
doing our
women want to
best.
be, we want to be attractive. We want to be beautiful, but that doesn't mean that we can't look at ourselves through the lenses of how our culture has like painted it, because that is
Absolutely.
where the lies lie. And so we're closing up, but on this topic, before we move on, why do you think so many women struggle so much with body dysphoria?
I definitely
Morphing.
think we've always had a standard, a beauty standard, whether it's, when I was in, I want to say like eighth grade, seventh grade, Tyra Banks's show, America's Next Top Model,
Yep.
she called those girls fat. Mind
Yes.
you, like I said before, I struggled with my body image my entire life. So I'd be at some, like off of school for summer eating my pizza rolls, and she's
Yeah.
calling this woman who's 5'10", and I can see her collarbone, every bone in her body. She calls her fat. I'm like spitting out my pizza roll because I'm, what?
Yeah.
If she's fat, there's always been something that we have to compare ourselves to, whether
Yeah.
it's, super, super skinny back in the 90s, early 2000s, or now the BBL bodies, which,
Yes.
everybody seems to have them. Or before that, it was breast implants. If you didn't have breast
Yes.
implants, you did. And so there's always something that we're upheld to as women. And I don't know if it's the same for men at all. But as women, we always have this standard of beauty that we feel like we need to
Yes.
uphold. And it's not the case. Honestly, the best compliment I've ever received was from a friend in 2020. And they said, you look like you, and that is why you're beautiful. Like, you don't look like that Kim K
Yeah.
copy, Kylie copy. Everybody want, and I'm, again, not bashing anybody, but those things are supposed to enhance your own natural beauty. Don't try to change to be someone you're not. We
Yeah.
are all so, as I've gotten older, young years, you pick on kids for certain things, big ears, big eyes, whatever.
Right.
As I've gotten older, there's not a person that I look at and think, ew, they're ugly. I
Yeah.
always find beauty in each person, whatever that may be, the higher cheekbones, the bigger lips, the longer eyelashes, whatever it is, I'm going to find something that I just am enamored with. And
Right.
I think we should really play on our strengths. We all have things that are, everybody wants what they don't have, right? So like a girl
Yeah.
today at the gym has beautiful curly hair, and she's like, I want my hair to be straight. And I'm like, why? It's awful over here. And
Yeah.
so just embrace what you have and really play to what you have, and
Yeah.
enjoy it. And when somebody sees you embracing what you have, maybe you'll help them to feel
Yeah.
comfortable and confident in their own skin, because society, as we see it going, it's, vanity, a lot of vanity
Yeah.
in social media. And it's hard. I don't know if you've seen a shift in my stuff. Before it was always like picture perfect poses and stuff. And now I'm like makeup list, doing my face mask, or showing my
Yeah.
acne, because I have
Right.
acne. I'm a human. I'm normal.
Right.
I don't want people to see my page and think, oh, she's got it all together, she's perfect. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I'm human. And
Right.
just because I don't post that stuff all the time, I battle with the thought of, it's not my fault for naivety, but I do have
Right.
to understand I was naive at one point, and I followed social media influencers that at the time I had no idea they were getting their bodies done. I didn't know they were on certain
Right.
drugs to look a certain way. And I'm comparing myself to them, driving
Right.
myself insane, because I'm working out 7 days a week. I'm eating chicken and rice and broccoli and drinking a smoothie, and I'm not losing weight. And
Yeah.
now that I know what I
Right.
know, I'm like, I lost so many years comparing myself to these women that was never going to be achievable by what I was doing. And now I'm just in a place where I love who I am. I follow pages that inspire me versus make me feel less than. And that's
Right.
a big thing. Detox your page if you have social
Mm.
media, whatever that looks like. In 2020, I did that. I unfollowed anything that wasn't serving me, as far as like
Yeah.
meme pages. You are what you consume, whether that's
Right.
food or up here. And it was a big mind shift for me. I had to
Right.
get rid of a lot of that stuff. I was like,
Yeah.
ugh, it's not conducive to anything. It's not conducive to who I want to be as a person. And again, I'm not bashing anybody. We're all at different points, but it definitely helped me shift my perspective into a more positive light. It's very hard for me to deal with negative people.
Oh, for
It
sure.
bothers me. I don't like grudge
Mm-hmm.
holders. I don't like people that talk about others. It's just, I don't have that negative bone in my body anymore.
Right.
And it's not who I want to be. I don't want to surround
Right.
myself with that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And we're in control of what we consume, only
mhm.
us. And so that is a very important thing to do, to make sure that what you're consuming is actually life-giving for you. And there's nothing wrong with eliminating the things that aren't. And I love what you shared. And one thing that you shared is like one of your most or your favorite or the best compliments you received about how they said you're beautiful because you're you, like in so many words. And I think that that can apply to all of us if we would just embrace who we are and not try to look and be like all these other beautiful women that we admire, but admire them, yes, but admire ourselves and bring out the most beautiful features that are not just physical, but are so much more, so much deeper, because it's not just the beauty on the outside that makes us beautiful, even though that sounds cliche. It's true that there can be the most beautiful woman in the room, but if she has a not very nice attitude and rude and all these things, like, in my opinion, that's not the most beautiful. Like, ew. Yeah. And I don't want to be that. I don't want to be an insecure, jealous woman. I want to be a confident woman who thinks I'm beautiful, loves my beauty, but also compliments other women who are too, without feeling envious, you know? And I think that that's so important. So thank you for sharing that. Two last things before we close up. And that is, what are some simple adjustments that those who are listening can, simple things we can do in our daily diet? And when I say diet, not like diet as in restrictive, but our daily consumption that would benefit our health. And then what is one word of encouragement you can share as we end to a woman who's just feeling discouraged with her body image mindset?
Let me start with the diet. You said restrictive. I hate that word. I'm all about balance. I preach balance, baby. I do not want a girl to feel like they can't have cake on their birthday. Right. Or to feel like you have to eat the same thing every day. Balance, balance, balance. But just make sure you're getting enough food. A lot of women, majority of women that I work with in the beginning, undereat. They're scared to eat. We have these fad diets that are out here telling us we need to eat 1,200 calories, low carb, this. There's certain instances that those are true, but it's not an application of one size fits all at all. Right. Especially if you're going to be active, you need to fuel your body. The word calorie definition is a unit of energy. It's energy for your body. See it as such, and it'll change your life. I have a girl, she's taking a hiatus right now because she's actually expecting, but she fit a cosmic brownie into her macros every single day. That's awesome. Every single day. That was her thing, and she wanted it. And I said, you know what? I have my thing. My thing is my coffee, and I'm not going to give it up. So you make it fit. So balance. Just try to make smarter choices, right? So if you go through drive-throughs often, opt for grilled options instead of the fried options. If you do get large fries, try a small fry. If you're doing a large soda, try a small soda. Little changes. Do not discredit them. Do not think that it's not going to add up, because everything either compounds for us or compounds against us. You choose which way it's going to go. And so make small choices, implement them consistently over a long period of time, and watch how it works for you. Even if it's diet, then do those little changes, add fruits, add vegetables, add higher protein snacks. Higher protein is one of the first things I tell people to do. If it's, you don't drink enough water, buy yourself a cute little jug. Drink your water throughout the day. You know, if it's no movement, you don't move, start small. There's YouTube stretches you could do, stretching. You could go for a walk, things that aren't going to require a lot of exerted energy. And then once you start realizing how much better you feel, you almost become addicted to the serotonin release. That's like, oh, I feel really good now. I want to do this. And there's going to be days, like you said yesterday, where that motivation is low, but that's where discipline comes into place. And you remember, okay, I felt really good after my last one. And something is always better than nothing. Don't think you have to do an hour-long workout to feel better. Like I said, I have a woman who, she has transformed her habits. I'm not going to say she's transformed everything. She used to eat out breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'm talking Sonic corn dogs, Wendy's, Chick-fil-A. Every meal was a fast food, and she's now to the point where she can get a fruit cup at Chick-fil-A instead of the fries and feel satisfied. And she doesn't do crazy workouts. I have her on like 15-minute increments on the stair stepper at home. It's one of the little steppers that you can do. She's like, I don't have a lot of time in the day. I said, everybody has 15 minutes. And I know you're watching something on Netflix, so put it in front of the TV and stand there and watch it. So little things like that. And as far as words of encouragement, I have so many little nuggets. I don't know what would be the best one to encourage, but just know you're capable of anything. Honestly, you're one choice away from a completely different life. Right. And it doesn't have to be extreme to be effective is my favorite. That's my motto. I don't want people to think you have to do some crazy diet to get results.
Right.
My goal, and my business plan is probably the worst. My goal is to have you with me to learn and absorb everything, get where you want to be and maintain what you want, and never need me again.
Right.
Terrible business model, right? At some point, you're not
Right.
going to need me. But my
Mm-hmm.
goal is not to make crazy amounts of money or anything like that. My goal is to help people. And I feel
Right.
like that's personally why my business flourishes, because you can
Right.
see how genuine I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it from a really good heart posture.
Right.
And I feel like what you get, what you put into the world.
It's
So, and
true.
like I said, I'm not doing it to receive anything, but I genuinely want people. And I cry once a week on my check-ins. The
Yeah.
women, they make me cry every week when I'm reading the non-scale victories about
Right.
them playing with their kids again. They weren't playing with their
Yes.
kids again because they were so tired getting home from work. One just posted, she remembers how awful she felt in Vegas before she hired me, and she hated herself. She hated her body.
Yeah.
She hated everything about her. And she's like, I'm starting to feel confident again.
Yeah.
And knowing so many women lack confidence breaks my heart.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart. And when they send me messages like that, it just reasserts I'm doing exactly what I'm meant to be doing. And I
Exactly.
truly love it. And it's not just, I don't know if you've seen the posts that I make, it's not just physical stuff, it's really
Mm-hmm.
mental. If you can train this, you can conquer anything. I promise. If you have a good
Yes.
mindset, perspective is everything. I
Right.
had a girl complain the other day about, oh, she broke her toe. And I said, maybe this happened to slow you down. Maybe you needed this night to reset with your husband and your son to slow down
Yeah.
because you've been doing so much for yourself. Like sit back,
Right.
relax, rest, recover. And she's like, how do you just think about all of these things in such a
Yeah.
way? And my mindset shifted when I was about 26 years old. I used to be very short tempered and not
Yeah.
very pleasant if I had a bad day. I apologize to anybody I came into contact with on those days, but shift your perspective and think these things happen for you rather than to you, and watch how the dynamic of your life changes.
Right.
Life
Yeah.
isn't happening to us, it's happening for us. I promise,
Mhm.
every single time.
Right. And yeah, I love that. I love that, you're ending with really just sharing with us, like it's our mindset. Like we truly are capable of anything. If we could literally just be women and then be women who also give birth and have children and be mothers and all the things that we do, anything that we put our mind to, we can do. I just love that because it's easy to just slip in this slump of like feeling like we can. And then also, I love your heart to just help women feel confident because I feel like the truth is so many of us don't. Even if we are at our quote unquote prime, it's easy to find things that we're not satisfied with and not confident
Mm-hmm.
in. But I love your heart to help women shift that because we need it. We need to feel comfortable right where we're at, right where we're going, and just who we are as women. And, as we end, Cheyann, I wanted to share this verse in Song of Solomon 4:7. It says, "You are altogether beautiful, my darling. There is no flaw in you." And I feel like all of us as women need to understand at the end of the day, pushing all the influences aside, all the words, all the whispers, all our voices, all of our insecurities and doubts and all these things, that God is whispering to us, "You are altogether beautiful, my darling, and there is no flaw in you." We look in the mirror and sometimes we only see flaws. But imagine God whispering that there is no flaw in you.
Mm-hmm.
He made us beautiful and perfect, and He is not calling us to measure up to our culture's standards, but He wants us to imagine the Father's heart, knowing that sometimes we look in the mirror and we don't love ourselves. We don't
Yeah.
embrace ourselves. We don't see our beauty when, wait a second, God made us beautiful. God made us good.
Yes.
His creation, He doesn't make ugly things. He doesn't make half a things. Like He makes perfect,
Yeah.
sorry, but perfect,
Pretty
beautiful,
perfect.
amazing, and good things. And so if
And
we
then
look at ourselves, go ahead.
one last thing, there's two
Yeah.
things, sorry.
Yeah.
Would you want your child to speak to themselves the way you speak to yourself? One.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
two, affirmations. I had a
Yes.
client that felt, because, she went from eating fast food, which is very addicting in a sense.
Yeah.
You really get that, oof, I feel good
Yeah.
after eating it for a moment, and then you feel like junk after.
Yes.
She felt like she was being punished by eating healthy. And I
Yeah.
said, why don't we shift that mindset and think about how many people can't afford to eat healthy? How many
Yeah.
people don't know where their next meal is coming from? And be
Mm-hmm.
truly grateful that you have the ability to eat what you want to eat, and it's nourishing your body. She's been
Yes.
doing her affirmations regarding that the last 2 weeks, and she's like, Cheyann, it's working. And
Yes.
you are what you put, like you speak, that has a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
to do with how you feel about life and what you're going into. And it just, to me, affirm good things only, and speak to yourself the
Yes.
way you would want your child to speak to yourself. Because oftentimes there's things that we dislike about ourselves physically that do get passed down to our children, whether it's big ears, your teeth, eyes, whatever it is. And you look at your child and you see nothing but beauty. And then you
Yes.
look at you and you're like, you shouldn't speak to yourself in a way that you wouldn't want your child to speak to yourself. Especially,
Right.
I know little boys, but little girls especially, because
Yeah.
one of my best friends grew up with a mom who was very, very negative about herself, and she still
Mm-hmm.
struggles with body image. And it makes me so sad, because luckily, my mom wasn't like that. It was me, because I watched stuff like The
Yeah.
Hills and, things that had that in
Mm-hmm.
TV culture. And it pains me to think that there's women out there talking to themselves negatively in the mirror with the little one watching, and they often
Right.
do what we do. So if you're
Yes.
eating healthy, doing healthy things, they're going to. If you're, unfortunately, like my family, statistically, I should be an alcoholic right now. I'm
Right.
not,
Yep.
because I've made
Same.
choices that are, so just do as you would want your child to do, because
Right.
it's the easiest way to look at it. Would you want little you to be talking to themselves like this?
Exactly. And that's really, convicting. And it's very true, because God's heart for us is to see beauty, but how much more. And that's something that I have had to work on, because I grew up with, my mom is beautiful and she used to just bash herself. And it was just a thing that she would make funny. And that is something that I'm still working on. I'm not saying I like bash myself, but when I feel insecure, I realize I speak it sometimes. And my husband is just amazing. And he'll always tell me, babe, can you first of all let me compliment you and say thank you? And he'll say, can you stop saying mean things about my friend Lauren? And it's like, he makes it cute, and I'm like, stop it. And I'm like, babe, and anyway, so he encouraged me, like, babe, you're beautiful. Like, what more do you want me to tell you? Like, and I know this. Well, I mean, I know this, but my point is like, I never ever want my girls to overhear me, my kids. And the truth is, if I'm speaking out loud, it is very possible that they're hearing me and I just don't realize it.
Yeah.
And I don't ever, I mean, they're beautiful, they're perfect. And so you're just so right, especially as mothers too, of just being confident and letting that be something that your kids learn to be too.
Mm-hmm.
So Cheyann, thank you for just everything that you shared today. There was so much gold, so much encouragement, so much even practical things that we can take away from this. But overall, just learning to be confident as women in our bodies. And Cheyann, what is the best way that we can connect with you?
My social media, Instagram would probably be the most direct. You can direct message me, or I have a link on there. If you do want to set up a consultation, I get back to you the same day. If you don't have Instagram, Facebook, all of my handles are Cheyann Maria. I think
Okay.
Instagram is at Cheyann_Maria, and then Facebook is Cheyann Maria Signs. However, on Facebook, I have my settings that if we don't know someone in mutual, it's not going to
Uh-huh.
let you message me. So Instagram would be
Okay.
the best.
Okay, cool. Well, guys, I encourage you, those who are listening today, go follow her. Go just be encouraged by her content. Reach out to her. Cheyann, this has just been an awesome time. And as we close, I want to pray for all of us and all of us listening. And then, hope everyone was blessed today. So, God, I thank you so much for this time together with Cheyann and all of those that you lead to just listen in, God. I thank you for the heart of gold that you've given Cheyann, the expertise, the knowledge, the heart, the passion. And I just pray that you would continue to broaden her influence and just lead other women to her that just need encouragement from her, God. I pray that you continue to heal the places in her heart, Lord, that you are already healing, and that you would just continue to give her joy and peace in this season. God, for every woman listening today, I just pray that you would show them even today, God, that they would look in the mirror and gosh, God, would you let them see the beauty? Highlight to them the beautiful aspects of them physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, every part of them, that you would begin to give them new eyes to see the beauty that you've given them, that you would give them this insane amount of confidence to walk with confidence, knowing that they are daughters of God and that they were made with no flaw, that they are beautiful, and that you would give us the energy, the strength, the capability, and remind us that we can do all things through Christ who strengthened us. Whatever our goals are, Lord, to feel healthier, to just live a long life that would bring you glory, God, I pray that you help us to remember we're capable, and we ask for your strength to move forward, God. And we just thank you for all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I hope you found encouragement today. I'd love to connect with you. You can find me by following Lauren A. Hargrove on Instagram or Facebook. And before you go, can you do me a favor and leave a rating and review for this show? I would greatly appreciate it, and it would help other moms better find the show too. With that, thank you for being a part of our community today, and until next time.